Shabbos, everybody. At a young adult discussion group in Los Angeles, Rabbi Nachum Braverman, to you that name, some of you might know that name, a highly respected rabbi, he tried an experiment. He held up a $20 bill and he made the following announcement. He said, "We are going to auction off this $20 bill to the highest bidder. The only catch is that whoever finishes as the second highest bidder also has to pay their bill, getting nothing in return." The bidding began in a very fun and festive tone, and quickly the bidding passed the $20 mark, and soon it was down to two final bidders. The mood in the room turned serious as everyone realized that someone was about to lose a lot of money. Each bidder had to outbid the other in order to avoid becoming the second highest bidder who would pay for nothing. The bidding reached a frenzied panic. The two contestants locked into a no-win situation. The room was breathless. And finally, that $20 bill sold for $76. How stupid do you think the winner felt? Not to mention the runner-up. They didn't stop to think that what they were doing was foolish. They got caught up in the emotion and the excitement of the moment. They acted hastily. They acted stupidly. And in the end, it cost them much more than they ever could have gained. And we all know it is part of human nature to react hastily and without thinking to the first sign of either an opportunity or a problem. Many people don't stop and think and plan out their actions. They just react, and they react in haste. You know that famous saying, "He who acts in haste repents in leisure"? On the other hand, we have those who can sit and wait, realizing that not only is patience a virtue, but that there are more important things that can be the pursuit of idle happiness or instant gratification. And that is the best, and it is best to think before you act, because acting in haste can lead to some potentially harmful and in certain cases disastrous consequences. These modes of behavior can clearly be seen in the story of this morning's Torah reading of the golden calf. Since the story of the golden calf is undoubtedly familiar to all of you, I'm not going to go into its details. But let me point out an important lesson that we can and we must all learn from it. And no, this lesson does not have anything to do with idol worship. Rather, it has everything to do with learning to be patient, to think things through, and only then act on those matters. What the Israelites, who got all upset about when Moses was late in coming down from the Mount Sinai, and who instigated Aaron into making the calf, exhibited two traits: impatience and the need for instant gratification, instant excitement. Now, before we go into casting blame, because that's not what I want to do, Don't so many of us exhibit the same traits today? Aren't we impatient? Don't we have the same need for instant gratification, particularly when you're on social media? Instant gratification. Don't we get so carried away by the heat and the excitement of the moment that we don't stop and think of the consequences of our behavior? And if you say, whoa, Rabbi, hold on, there's a difference. We don't make golden calves today. Well, think again. Think about that for just a second. We might not make literal golden calves, but we do sin. We do make mistakes in our lives precisely because of what the children of Israel did back then. The lack of patience, and precisely because of our pursuit of instant gratification and happiness. What we must learn from this episode today is the need for patience, the need to learn to delay some of our gratification until the time is right. We must learn to wait for the proper time to take action. But until then, we take the time to plan it out, study the pros and the cons, make sure the decision is level-headed, and then take the appropriate action. In other words, although we might not always make the best decision or always reach the desired results, by exhibiting these traits, we minimize the risks of mistakes and stand a better chance of achieving the goal. I want to give you an example. In the summer, one evening, the family and I, we went to Point Claire Village. There's an ice cream place there that we like to visit. And we happened to park in a little parking area. And as I walked towards the main street, I noticed it had their, the Canadian Curling Association. Okay? And of course, curling sport is very prominent here. Many have said that curling is so boring. It's so slow. But you know what? Maybe that's its charm. Maybe curling is the attitude to the golden calves in our lives, growing impatient with anything slow or need that instant gratification. Curling teaches us patience, concentration, precision. It doesn't let us get too excited, even when we knock the opponent's stone out of the house. After all, how can you really get excited over taking brooms to sheet the ice, to help a piece of granite get closer to its destination? I mean, really, come on, how can you get excited over that? But with this in mind, let's revisit the golden calf, and especially Aaron's role in this episode. Now, as you know, the people complained to Aaron. They saw Moses hadn't returned, and they asked him to make them a god. And he is one who asked for their jewelry, and he turned it into a golden calf. And that is why Aaron is usually the one who gets blamed for giving into the mob and for making the calf in the first place. But as one commentator expressed, not so fast, perhaps Aaron was thinking to himself, if I say to them, take another great leader and make them, crown that person as your leader, then what happens if Moses returns? The new leader won't step down because of power. And there will be disagreements and there will be bloodshed. And what if I say to them, I will not appoint you a leader? Then they will choose someone on their own. And then when Moses comes, we'll have the same issue. And what if I say to them, I, Aaron, will be your new leader in place of Aaron, in place of Moses, and then Moses returns? It's going to be embarrassing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delay them, and I will occupy them until Moses returns, and I will make them something that is meaningless. And then when Moses comes, he'll destroy it. In other words, what did Aaron try to do? He tried to delay the people's need for gratification with a thought-out plan for delay until Moses came back. Aaron acted as a thoughtful, responsible leader in the midst of a crisis. Far from simply going along with the people's reckless plans, Aaron thinks quite deeply, seriously, and comes up with an appropriate response. And Aaron's action represents the best of a leader in the thick of crisis. Fearful of disagreement, bloodshed, offending his brother, he chooses a strategy to delay. Now, both we and many commentators can debate this for ad nauseum. But what we have to agree on is that at least Aaron didn't just react. He didn't act in haste, he didn't act with emotion, but rather he thought through the situation. And while he might have been mistaken in hindsight, because to make a golden calf was not probably the best way to go, he can never be accused of just acting, giving into the mob and acting out of emotion. The ultimate lesson of the golden calf is not idol worship, as so many people think. It is to train us to think about what it is we are doing before we do it, to realize that it may not be prudent to jump on that proverbial bandwagon just because everybody else is doing it. We must realize that there may be consequences to our actions, that what stands out as innocent may turn out tragic if we're not careful. And so we must ask ourselves, have we lost sight of our true priorities? Are we being swept away by the mob? Are we just blindly following the majority? Have we abdicated our responsibility as people to ask the question and use our brains? Have we lost our ability to think and be patient in favor of instant gratification? Now, if the answer in your lives to these questions are yes, then you haven't fully learned the lesson of the golden calf. And I'm sorry to say, but you're deemed to repeat it. Hopefully, though, we have all learned, and hopefully the answers to these questions are a resounding no. I'm going to conclude with this story which shows the necessity of properly thought out and planned actions. Now, given the state of the world's economy today, Israel faces a number of major challenges. I'm not just talking about the war, but I'm talking about economic challenges. Its own economy needs a boost. Inflation is getting higher and immigrants are flooding in from all over the world. I think Israel this year, or in 2024, had one of the largest immigrations to Israel in many, many years, despite the war. These are all serious problems for Israel. So what should Israel do? So what happens is the Knesset decides it's going to hold a special meeting to discuss this. And they have to come up with a solution. And after several hours of discussion and debate, without any progress or hint of solution, one Chaver Knesset, one member of the Knesset, Itzik, his name, stands up and he says, okay, sheket, everybody, quiet. I've got it. I've got a plan. The solution to all our problems. So everybody's like listening with like intently. What could Itzik come up with? Itzik says it's very simple. We're going to declare war on the United States. Declare war on the United States. Everyone starts shouting, are you meshuga? Ta meshuga? Nafalt ala rosh? Did you fall on your head? You're nuts. You're crazy. That's crazy. It says, hear me out. Hear me out. We declare war on the United States. We lose. The United States does what she always does when she defeats a country. She rebuilds everything, highways, airports, shipping ports, schools, hospitals, factories, loans money, sends food aid. Our problems would be over, just like that. Think about it, it's not so stupid. So Benny jumps up and says, sure, that's if we lose. But what if we win? So you see, it's easy to get caught up with the excitement. Whether it's positive or negative, it's much harder, though, to exhibit patience, especially when all those around you are shouting and screaming. Think through the possibilities, come up with a plan, and then, and only then, respond appropriately. It's hard, I know it's hard, to stop and to think that just like the example with the auction of the $20 that I started with, we think we're clever and we think we've got the answer, but more than often we haven't. So my prayer today for all of us, may we continue to learn from our mistakes and continue to exhibit the traits of patience and thoughtfulness and not overreact to difficult situations. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.